Table 6, Scott Yardley, Adam Basu. Table 7, Clint Jansen, Tyler Hunt. Table 8, Kareem Barada, Alan Hill. Table 9, Nathan Ellis, Ben Flack. Table 10, Adam Toms, Sean Morris. Table 11, Mike King, Ben Swinnerton. Table 12, Daniel Bishop, Jamie Clements. Table 13, Rico Forgione, Joe Hayward. Table 14, Neil Wren, Neil Davey. Table 15, and these tables are in the side room. Table 15, Callum Singleton, Richard Gifford, which are the tables to the left of the top table, the right as you're looking towards me. Table 15, Callum Singleton, Richard Gifford. Table 16, Jonathan Coleman, Matt Barcock. Table 17, Jamie Graham, Sam Story. And table number 1, the stream table, Gareth Hibbott, Alex Lewis. Please start when you can. If your opponent isn't beside you, please give top table a shout. Thank you. Just a couple of points on admin. There are a couple of rests and spiders distributed around the room, including underneath and beside the top table if you do need them. As usual, if you do need a ref for a potentially contentious decision, please let the top table know and we'll send a ref over.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third tour. This is from Daventry. We've been to Blackpool so far. And we were in London. In fact, this is Tour 4. What am I saying? Tour 4. The next two tours actually here at this venue in Daventry. And this is the first round game, the first game of the weekend between Gareth Hibbott and Alex Lewis. Very good afternoon to everyone and welcome. Another feast of pool over this weekend. And what better way to get it underway with the 2017 World Champion Gareth Hibbott. Paul's arguing. He's going to look it up now. He says 2016 World Champion. Probably right, actually. I've lost a year through COVID, so anyway, ex-World Champion. You're all familiar with him. And Alex Lewis, definitely a banana skin.
As always, the boys from the Elite Bet are in the corner of the room, back right, if you fancy a cheeky flutter. Currently doing outrights, outright wins and semi-final each way. Also 4 folds if you fancy that. Also doing bets on the horse racing and football if you fancy a different kind of flutter. Go up and have a look at the odds. Take advantage.
So leaving this black that's tied up until last, which is never the greatest idea. But he's spotted. What has he spotted here? Is it a treble? No, just a Oh, sorry, I was just looking away for a couple of moments. I didn't realise he had 2 shots. Just still trying to organise ourselves here. It's only just arrived in the last sort of 20 minutes or so, so we're just getting ourselves organised. Anyway, it's the first frame to Gareth Hibbott. Going with the break, Alex Lewis setting the balls up for frame number 2. So obviously lots of action underway. All of the games around this arena, there's 2 arenas actually. There's a smaller one which has just got 2 tables in it, and this one which I think has got around about a dozen, maybe 14 tables. If you want to keep up with the action, it's all on qscore.com. So the other games from this 12 o'clock session, Kev Sutton against Joe Sison. Kev's won the first frame. Chris Wilson against Sai Lumia. Chris has won the first frame. Danny at least 1-0 up against Lee Howard. John McAllister 1-0 against David Stock. Adam Basu in action. No frames on the board in that one against Scott Yardley. Clint Hanson playing this weekend as well against Tyler Hunt. It's a pretty big field this weekend. When you look through it, Chris Melling obviously here this weekend, and Declan Brennan. So interestingly, after the last event, the cloths were definitely slowing up. They were playing a lot heavier. We did mention to the organisers that we were getting an extraordinary amount of tactical frames on the cloth because the balls weren't dropping, so they were covering bags, and then automatically the frame was going defensive. So yeah, interestingly, there is a brand new cloth on this table. In fact, there's brand new cloths on a lot of the tables this weekend. So hopefully we should see a lot more open and attacking play than the last event. It's good to see some tactical frames now and again, but it was one after another in some of the events. He says, as they run into a tactical frame, I think this one was always going to be the case. There's balls tied up at the top of the table for both reds and yellows. No easy clearance to go at, so these frames often do go fairly tactical. It won't be a game that Gareth particularly wants to get into. He does have a very good tactical game, but he is a very aggressive and attacking player, so he won't want to get drawn into it. You can see the few people in the background just watching on. Neil Rayburn on the left, Mike Perkins, one of the event organisers and table technician over the weekend, and Andy Johnson, who was on the right of the pictures, just walked out of frame. You'll hear him many times over the weekend as he and calls the players to the table, and you hear the voice in the background. That's Andy. A lot of organisation goes into these events. Of course, the players just turn up on the morning of the Friday, and pretty much the same as me, to be honest. Just pitch up and everything's already there. You think the fairies come in and do it all, but there's so much hard work goes into this. Gaz played a nice shot there just to knock open those two yellows, and he has in fact left an angle to be able to go over and develop the red and yellow on the right hand side. He just needs to be very careful though. I'm still not sure. It's just going to play a little developing shot actually. In fact, a deliberate foul, knowing that the two reds are tied up at the top of the table. I think that's a bit of a risk to take. He would have, I believe, tried to keep the yellow over the pocket as it is. Alex can go at these two reds if he wants to, if he still thinks he can clear up with one shot. Cue ball's got away from him a bit there. Still a ball tied up, but really now his defensive options are limited. As soon as he played that developing shot, he really needed to be able to go at these, and you can see he expresses his disappointment. As I say, defensive options limited. Now Gaz, with only that single ball tied up, and you feel that it's not the most difficult ball to try and develop either. It's a big target next to red and yellow, and if you any kind of contact with the red, it's going to develop it now. In fact, does it cut? Well, he felt he had a big pocket at the bottom of the table, and he did. What a great shot that is. The problem for Alex here was when he had the two shots, he really needed to pop that ball up the rail. As soon as he missed that and used his first shot, then he was always fighting an uphill battle. If he could have made that difficult pot, the frame would have been there for him. As it is, it's going to cost him. And in this race to 7, Gareth Hibbott taking a 2-0 lead, and he will break in the next frame. Thunderous. How well's he hit that? Absolutely huge. Wow. So much power. Just a lovely connection with the front of the pack. Got that huge explosion. Ball's racing towards pockets. Difficult when you hit them that well for them to go dry. Just slightly the wrong angle. If he can find the potting angle of the red next to the black to top left, then you feel he's absolutely fine. But this is pretty tricky if that ball doesn't go to top left. And as you see, he's had to try and power his way through the gap. Holds his hand up because that's definitely not what he played. But it's kind of semi come out. Still not great. Pretty sure that that red doesn't pot in either of the top corner pockets. It'll definitely pot to the bottom right, but he's going to have to get some real action on this cue ball to get it across table. He needs to play this with top and right. Yeah, it was a very tough pot and a tough ass when you're trying to maneuver the cue ball as well. Going to be really disappointed with that. It's such a great opportunity. Never really gives anything away. You just never see any emotion. His expression never really changes. That's a nice shot. Just developing that one yellow. It didn't need developing. It did go in a couple of pockets, but it was tricky to land on, so played a very nice shot. Not sure this has come out exactly as intended. He's going to have to play a plant now, and that's not a gimme. Again, still not in prime. He's fine. It's just not exactly what he had in his mind, I'm sure. He's got the one nearest the black to top left if he wants it. The issue is he still needs to. He could get past that yellow. I wasn't sure whether he could. He still needs to land on the black. Yeah, he has to get above it near the bulk line, so use the ball near the middle as his last ball. That's all wrong. I mean, he's overhit that by 9 inches. Just land just off straight and he could float the cue ball past the red to leave himself a black to bottom right. But now, well, what does he do? He's going to have to come all the way around the angles. 3 cushions. Well, the only other thing is whether that black does go to top left. I was assuming it doesn't pass the red, but the way he's looked at that, It must. Again, not easy. He's just made this a little bit difficult for himself all the way through. One shot after another, just running slightly out of position, and it's culminated in this awkward black. Very nice. It was good clearance in the end. Never really seemed settled. But there's no pictures on the scorecard, and he registers his first frame. Trails 2 frames to 1. Decent spread, this. You could most definitely make a case for either, but it's going to be reds. I think the yellow on the blue spot's probably just hedging it towards reds. That one's a tricky ball to land on. Yeah, looking at that table, the red. I'm not even sure the yellow passes the red to top right, so definitely looking at reds here. It's all about the pattern. He's really taking his time to work out in his mind how he wants to go about them. I think this ball at the top first, and then do something. Yeah, that was always the problem. It's just that little triangle of balls was just going to be the issue, and that's why he wanted to get into that straight away. Not sure he's got a shot here at all. Maybe just drift past this yellow to the knuckle. Yeah, a little containing shot. That's clumsy. Tried to hide the cue ball in behind the 2 yellows, but got it completely wrong. And now, I think he's given Alex, maybe even given Alex a pop to middle. Has he got an angle to go through the gap of the red and yellow and develop that ball that he's tied up? Well, he did have the gap, but didn't play it. I think he could have, as I say, just played that at a bit more pace, just to go up and nudge into the yellow and red to promote the red a little closer to the pocket. Maybe just didn't see it. So we've chosen some great games through this afternoon. You can see them scrolling across the top of the screen. Next up is Jake McCartney against John Rowe, and then straight after that another blockbuster between the safecracker Shane Thompson and Goobsy. Scott Gillespie. That's a clever little shot there from Gaz. Just flicking his yellow, developing it. I think he's left it safe. I think for Alex, it's just push another ball up over. Yeah, that's still not ideal. I think he would have much preferred that another 2 or 3 inches down the table, just to make it easier to develop his difficult one. Gaz was playing to flick the yellow off the red. but missed the red, so this one just gone a little bit scrappy from both players. After a pretty good quality start in the first couple of frames. Both players now just struggling a little to settle. There's another one that's, I think, a little clumsy. Gaz has developed the two yellows, but I think he was trying to put one in the path of this red. Now Alex with, well, half a chance. You can't say it's much more than half a chance. Those two balls still tied up. He's definitely got advantage in the frame, but still may not see him pull the trigger here. He is naturally aggressive. Not naturally a tactical player, but I think that's probably the right options at the moment. As I say, he's got complete control of the frame, so why push the boat out? He can really wrestle himself back into this match from being 2-0 down. Back to 2-1, and with the advantage in this. The onus is very much on Gaz in this frame. As always, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you do get any issues on one, then the other one should be your second option. Now Gaz's turn to get one of the yellows up into this corner. It's in his interest now to crowd this pocket. I wonder if he's given Gaz a chance here to thin this yellow along the rail. The angle might be too acute. I think it probably is, but he definitely looked at it. Just chop that yellow across the top rail to get it over that pocket. Played the treble instead. That's okay. Gets it in the mix. I think Hibbott dearly loved it. Right over the pocket. I mean, from Alex's perspective, I think he's okay to play a DF here. Just play red onto yellow to plant the yellow in. Gaz is still going to have that ball tied up behind the two reds. He's still got the red closest to us, which is blocking the path of at least one of those yellows at this end of the table. So I think DF is probably the right shot to play here. He decides it's not. I don't know, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think you can see it on his face. I think the DF was the one there, because now he's he's developed one of the difficult yellows. Now Gaz can stick another ball over that pocket, and suddenly he's got the advantage in the frame. He's not going to be going for a pot here, just to plug that gap. And now suddenly, as I say, advantage to Gaz. So I think Alex committed a little suicide there. So plays a DF, as you always want to, is ensure that your player has to waste his first visit, but I don't think this is good enough. I think Gaz can just flick off with the yellow, open it up for that pocket for later on, get the cue ball at the table. Well, he's even left the gap, so he could just put that one back over the pocket if he wants to. Or he can come back for it later if he decides that he can go for the clearance here. Fancies the clearance. He's left an angle now at the yellow that's closest to the black to get into the two tough balls, but decided to clear the two yellows at the bottom of the table first. So now he's just looking back at that angle, so a similar position to where he was a second ago. If he's somewhere around the blue spot, I think he's perfect. You can just play a gentle cannon into the two yellows to develop. And he's come right up table, decided against that option. Obviously the one they both pot into the bottom right corner. It's just whether he can land on the second one. No. I think he was looking to just cannon it on the way through. Now he's got a problem because he's got entirely the wrong angle. As you can see, he's looking at potentially potting that last yellow from around about the middle bag area. That's going to be tight, or he can elect to screw all the way around the table. I think he's just going to take his medicine and come just above that middle pocket and leave the thinner cut. Tough shot. A great single ball potter though. Nothing really to do with the cue ball. It's naturally going to follow a line up and down the table. And leaving that tough shot ultimately is going to cost him. And there you see, the expression still doesn't change. You never see him. It's not one of those players that so often you just get a read off and you sit and look at it, see him in the corner, they're shaking their head. They got their head in their hands. You just don't get anything. He's got a great poker face. So this wasn't the best frame by Alex. He's definitely made a couple of mistakes in the middle there and really should have been punished for it, but he comes out unscathed and levels things up at 2 frames each. So a quick virtual tour of the scores. On table 2, Joe Sison beating Kev Sutton 3-1. Sido, me and Chris Wilson, 2 frames each. Danny at least 4-2 up against Lee Howitt. John McAllister 4-1 against David Stock. Scott Yardley beating Adam Basu 4-1. Clint Ianson 4-1 against Tyler Hunt. Karen Barada 2-1 against Alan Hill. Nathan Ellis 3 each with Ben Flack. Adam Toms 2 apiece with Sean Morris. Mike King 3-0 against Ben Swinnerton. Mike King with what I can only describe as a marshmallow stuck on the end of his cue. That's what it looks like. It's got a huge tip on there. Jamie Clement 6-4 against Dan Bishop. Enrico Forgione already through against Joe Hayward, 7-0. Neil Davey 3-1 up against Neil Wren. Callum Singleton tied up 3 each against Rich Gifford. Matt Barcock 3-2 against Jonathan Coleman, and Sam Story 3 each against Jamie Graham. So those are the games currently in action. 17 tables. That's gone wrong. It's about as much as you get. A bit of a look into the distance. Well, if he ever needed it, he's got an angle to clip this into the top left and run the cue ball down into the pack. You just play it with left hand side. I think the black goes, so he doesn't need to develop it. Wasn't sure whether it was, but you can see from the overhead that it definitely does. And that was the problem with that one. Just losing the cue ball. Tried to hold on the back of the red, but as soon as he hit it half ball, not a difficult yellow to pot. Definitely expect him to get it one cushion, but the cue ball Gaz realising that even if he potted the yellow, he had no shot on the black, and he would have been in a lot of bother. So putting the red on top of the yellow means that he retains advantage. Just see Clint Hansen from a position of 4-1 up is now 4-3 against Tyler Hunt. Anyone who does look on Q score, can anyone tell me what the flag is next to Tyler Hunt's name? It's got a blue flag with a white star in the middle. I think it's a flag of Somalia, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he's not from there, unless there's a similar flag from somewhere else. But thanks, Gary. Gary says, yes, Somalia flag. I don't know Tyler, I must admit.
Apparently he's from Slough.
George tells me he's actually, he's from Slough, so maybe it's the flag of Slough. I know you can choose your own flags on Q Score, so people put in any old thing, don't they? But I have to say that as much as I do enjoy watching open pool, the odd tactical frame when you've got two players who really do know the rules well, and always good to watch. Alex very much from a World Rules background, and Gaz great at these rules. Heard a big sigh from Alex. I think obviously played the DF, but trying to get the black right on top of the red. I don't really see any. Well, unless the black-red isn't a plant, if Gaz can punch it and jaw the red and get it out, I think that's what he's looking at now. Let's just see whether he can leave the black there and jaw the red out. That's probably what Alex was signing at. He would have wanted to leave that as a plant, so there's no real way of getting this black out. If it's a dead set plant, then Gaz is in trouble. But I think he can punt the black into the very left-hand side of that red and push that towards the knuckle, and it should knuckle out into the other red and clear the decks. It's just where the where the black goes. No, definitely not what he played. And I think if he was trying to knuckle that out, he needed to play that a little bit more pace anyway. He gave it every chance to go in playing at that pace. So, Alex looking like he's going to take the lead here. And does. So from a position of 2 frames behind, he wins 3 in a row and now takes the lead at 3 frames to 2. So there is your arena, just playing there on table 2. That's Joe Sison setting the ball, ready to play. He's leading 4 frames to 1 against Kev Sutton. Over on table 3, you saw Chris Wilson at the table setting the balls up against Silomir. Currently side is 3-2 up. Another good, solid break and a great spread of balls. And actually, I think these are there. The one that he's closest to, he hasn't got a lot in the way of options, but the one he's closest to passes to left middle. Oof, that. Well, I hate to say it, but it felt like he put in a bit of a quick one there. They were close together, so it's always a little bit tricky, but it just felt like he just got down and put in a bit of a quick one. Of course, given the fact that he potted one of each, he nominated yellows and he is on yellows, so Gaz on reds, but again, doesn't cause any problems, does it? They're all there. Just ran out of position, being super critical, but it's just out of position by a couple of inches, which has led to him just being a fraction high here, but I think he's fine because he can just drift the cue ball down table, maybe cannon into the yellow. Yeah, so his target point's going to be the yellow that he was just queuing next to. If he can land on that, he's got a choice of either red to middle or corner. He's going to want to take the one to middle next. Well, he played a cannon, so obviously thought that maybe couldn't get through to that angle. It felt like he could, though. Felt like it was fairly natural to drift the cue ball through the gap to that red, but maybe the red didn't pass to middle, perhaps. Again, left it awkward having to play this with rakes of left hand side. Managed to drop it in, and that really is a lovely shot. Alex takes a seat. He knows that that's going to be all she wrote for this frame, and very, very quickly from a break that Alex, I think he would have liked that table when he came to it. Just felt he knew that the first shot was pretty much game ball. As always, we only really ask one thing in return for this stream over the weekend, and that's just for you to like and share the stream. and also just to subscribe to our channel. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers, which is a great big landmark for Beard Productions. For whatever reasons, we used to have Facebook pages, but they got closed down on us. So the subscriber count on YouTube is always a measure of how we're doing. And 10,000 is starting to loom large for us. So if you haven't done so before, please do subscribe to the channel. Alex, very expressive. You can hear the sigh, the hampered cueing, making this shot more tricky than it needed to be. And again, still just slightly out of shape, the wrong angle if he wants to play the one to middle. Or he's got the cut on the one just below the black. Neither are ideal. Leaving himself much more difficult shots. Again, navigated them really well. That's a nice clearance. And it's Alex Lewis that retakes the lead at 4-3. I mentioned right at the top of the show that it was going to be a tough game for Gareth Hibbott. Alex, always a feature and a very strong opponent. There we see all of the other scores from around the arena. Ben Flack just edging out Nathan Ellis 5-4. Sam Story now just gone ahead of Jamie Graham. Jamie and Jez, the two West Country brothers, will be here playing over the weekend. Made the long trip up from Plymouth.
Chris stay in the room? Chris stay top table if you are.
John McAllis has safely navigated his first round game against David Stock. He's through 7 frames to 2. He'll join the other 2 players who are through now, Jamie Clements and Enrico Forgione. So Alex now with 3 of the pockets covered. Another very big frame. Alex always had the advantage there from the break. Pockets covered, and now 2 frames ahead at 5 frames to 3. It's starting to get serious for Gaz Hibbott. Just a race to 7, so Alex just needs 2 more frames. And from Gaz's perspective, his job, well, from here, he needs to win 4 frames to 1. So, bit of an uphill battle. And definitely not what he needs. So Alex taking yellows, played the plant as his first shot. I think it was a 3-ball plant, red onto yellow into the middle. So the 2016 world champion very much on the back foot now. This a must-win frame for him, but the Reds look pretty ordinary, and we're going to go a little bit tactical again. Understandably so. You've got that big cluster of balls in the middle and nothing really to go at. I think Gaz has got an opener here. He's the one at the top of the pack, does cut to right middle, but it's a low percentage. He doesn't really have much in the way of any defensive options, so he has to try and open things up here somehow. It's not really the kind of time you want to go gung-ho when you're 2 frames behind in a race to 7. That's one of the problems. Left a plant to middle, which isn't a formality, and also it's got to be careful where the red goes because it's going to track towards the black. You don't want to tie up the black. And because of that, he played it at pace, and it's cost him the shot. So now another chance for Alex. Still not a gimme. More of a kind of half chance. Well, that's a great first shot. He's gone straight after his tricky ball. And the reason I was saying it was more of a half chance was because of this yellow right in the middle of the table. That was always going to be awkward to get on. He's landed on it perfectly here. And now suddenly, this is a great chance to go on the hill. Only really the black that's the problem ball. I don't think it'll he may be able to. I'll have to have a look at it. Oh, wow, that's a great shot. Open things up. So played 2 very nice shots there. Just has to rely on his cue action, hold his nerve, pop these last 4 balls, get himself on the hill in a very, very commanding position. Got to say, I've been really impressed. It was a bit of a scratchy start from Alex. He seemed to take a while to settle, and at 2-0 down against a player of Gaz's quality, you already felt that his back was going to be against the wall, but he really has fought back well. All of the games in this round are now starting to draw towards conclusion. Just a reminder that you can check out all of the action on all 17 tables on qscore.com. Just click on the live link. You clearly hear the nominate Reds. One tricky ball, and he can take it now as a double if he gets it. This could be the game, and in fact, should be the game. I don't think that yellow has gone in the path of the black. Don't believe that's going to cause him any trouble. So, should really be plain sailing. Again, just about holding the nerve. Of course, the last frame always the hardest one to win. closer to his work than he'd like. Makes the cue ball just a little more awkward to control, but doesn't really have to do anything with it. Definitely makes his shot a lot harder though. Controlled it well. And now he can play the right hand ball of the two, probably top through. In fact, he's got a choice. He can play the left hand and either or. Looks perfect. Just needs to hit this hard enough to get down adjacent to the middle pocket to leave a straight black. And that is frame of match. Well done to Alex Lewis. That's a great sculpt in his first round match. Gareth Hibbott bows out, and we'll see him in the Jason Owen Open tomorrow. But that really was a good performance from Alex. We're going to hear from him in just a couple of minutes over in the interview room. Join me there. Joined by Alex after that game. Alex, when you look down through the draw, Gareth Hibbott's not always the one that you want to pick. Always a formidable opponent, and when he gets off to a 2-0 lead, how'd you come back from that? That's a great performance by you.
Yeah, I played all right, to be fair. 2-0 down, I was thinking the same as what you just said, really, especially after having a chance in the first. You don't really come back from deficits to players of his calibre, but he didn't play very well, to be fair. At 2-0, he probably should have went 3-0 up, gave me a chance, and sort of my confidence just built from there, really.
Yeah, you can actually physically see your confidence grow. You both seem to be, in that third frame it went a bit tactical. You both seem to be struggling to find a little bit of form. But from then in, I mean, you were potting some great balls. The one thing I did notice is a few of the frames went tactical. Was that by design? Because you're naturally an attacking player.
Yeah, I mean,
were you trying to slow him down?
I don't like people to know that I can play tactics, because I like people to throw it in against me. Like you say, people watch me and they think he goes for his shots. He don't know how to play tactically. But I know, I think almost by design. I didn't really want to just. I fell foul of just giving my opponents frames recently. I want him to sort of earn them.
Yeah.
But no, if it goes tactical, I'm more than capable of playing tactical, definitely.
And also, you know that he's always going to want to be the aggressor, isn't he? I mean, he's definitely got a B game, but if he can attack, he's going to want to attack.
Yeah, well, I mean, when the first tactical frame went wrong for him, he sort of tried to force it, and then I know from experience of playing the game a long time that when you try and force it, it happens again, he tries to force it again, and then you end up sort of digging yourself a hole. But yeah, he didn't play as well as he can, but I played pretty well,
Yeah, definitely. Good performance. So, first round under your belt, do you know you've got next?
I haven't looked, to be fair. I didn't look much further than that. I haven't even checked in yet.
Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. All right, go get yourself checked in the hotel. Have a great rest of the weekend, and hopefully we'll see you here again on the stream table.
Spot on.
Cheers, Alex.
Thanks,
mate.
broke and cleared up for 2-2. So it's he let me back in.
Oh,